17th, 2023, and I'm getting ready to go outside and direct sow my different spinach varieties. This year I'm growing an absolutely obnoxious amount of spinach varieties because we've been having a little bit of difficulty over the past 2 years. We're not really sure why. Normally we can plant or sow our seeds out in our raised garden beds direct sowed, and our spinach starts to germinate within 5 days, and the spinach will hang on all through winter. It will go through a freeze, and then it will self-sow, and we have a second round of new spinach for the springtime. The past 2 years, we just have not been so fortunate. So I have ventured off into trying some new varieties in a new place in the yard. Since we just recently built all of these new types varieties of raised beds, one of the areas that I will be growing the spinach in is in one of my new raised beds next to the new greenhouse. But I wanted to show you what it is that I'm growing. The first variety that I still will try to grow, I don't think that it's a spinach thing. I think it's a location thing for us. It could be because of the soil. It could be because of exposure. It could be that there's an insect in the bed. We're just not really sure. This variety, the Bloomsdale long-standing spinach, is the spinach that I have been growing for years now, years. This is a very beautiful, ruffly leaved spinach that does well through the cold and in the warmer temperatures. It is very slow to bolt, and these leaves are very, very thick but tender. They're delicious for salads, for sauteing, and really spinach is spinach. You know, it doesn't really have a whole lot of variation in flavor. It's more of a texture thing and an ability for it to stand long in the garden with being able to withstand cold temperatures and then heat before it starts to bolt. The thing I like about this texture is that it's just a little bit thicker, and not only does it hold well in the garden, it holds well after you go ahead and harvest it, clean it, dry it, and then put it in the refrigerator. You can have it in the refrigerator for at least 2 weeks. This is a 28 to 45 day maturity spinach. And you'll see germination in 5 to 7 days on this. And you can count on at least a month before it will really show up and be ready to harvest. Last year I went ahead and tried a new variety that did show up rather well in the garden. Now, these leaves of Giant Noble are shown as an example here with a United States coin in the middle of a quarter. So you can compare the size of the leaves to a quarter. You'll see that when you harvest this, it's going to be a bigger leaf spinach. And the texture is about the same. I will say that this is supposed to be known for holding up well in the cold, and it really did. And there's really not a whole lot to say about it except that so early in spring and the heat will eventually cause spinach to bolt. So the Giant Noble is a little bit more susceptible to bolting than the Bloomsdale longstanding, and the texture is a little bit more fine, and it's a little bit of a lighter colored leaf, but it still basically tastes like spinach. Another variety that I have grown this year is the Gigante d'Inverno. Now, whenever you see these words, d'Inverno, I also bought some tomatoes that reference this. They refer to winter. So these are varieties that are good through very, very cold temperatures. But this spinach is very similar to the Giant Noble. Its leaves are just shaped a little bit different. But again, spinach is spinach. It did come up as well as the Bloomsdale longstanding, and it produced more leaves than the Giant Noble did when direct sowed in the garden. Last year I tried the Matador spinach in the original bed where we're starting to have problems at now. This did show up. Actually, one of our very first videos on our channel, I featured some of this spinach growing, saying that I was about to go out and harvest it. And it's funny because we just watched that video yesterday, and I'm not really sure what called it to my attention, but when we went back and watched it, it was really interesting to watch our very first video. We had no music. I did not feature myself in it. It was just me holding the camera and doing a garden tour. And the Matador spinach is one of the varieties that we had available out there. So there's not really a whole lot to, comment about this. Again, spinach is spinach, but it did do well here in our New Jersey garden. And I thought the texture was nice. And again, if you're big on eating spinach, you'll know that sometimes you get those thicker, more wrinkled leaves, and sometimes you'll get the thinner leaf. This is a thinner, more, I should use the word delicate, less textured and less veining through it. So it's probably a little bit easier to chew, probably a more tender variety of spinach here with the Matador. And you can get this variety through several seed vendors. I think even M.I. Gardner has the Matador spinach now. Another spinach that I tried from Botanical Interest is the Oceanside. So, well, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to try it today. They're saying that this grows in 25 days, which was something that appealed to me because I like to have my spinach quick. And I like to have this available in the yard at all times. Now, there's a lot of catastrophic things happening out in the West Coast where all of our fresh produce comes from. And this video is not about fear mongering or, setting everyone to go out and, worry about food shortages again. Not trying to go there. But I anticipate that these storms and the catastrophic weather in the West are going to, I can't see how they wouldn't affect us. So it is now an even greater sense of urgency for me personally to go out and get all these varieties going so I can see which one is going to grow best for us. The spinach does do better growing in the fall and then reappearing through spring on its own, but you can still plant spinach now. It likes the temperatures to be around 40 degrees to 75 degrees. Anything over 75, 80 degrees, it's not going to germinate, or if it does germinate, you're going to get bolting very, very quickly. So this is a cooler weather for a certain variety. And in 25 days, that sounds good to me for baby spinach leaves. So I'm looking forward to planting the Oceanside variety of spinach from Botanical Interest. Another new variety I bought was the Butterfly from M.I. Gardner. And the reason I got this was because at the time I was holding out on my wish list for the American cultivar of spinach, and it kept going out of stock. So I saw this come in, and this is a cross between the American spinach and the Viroflay. So again, this just has the ability to, its production time, and I think, this one here is probably about the same amount of days, 45 days to maturity. So this one's going to take a little bit longer. But again, it's a texture thing. Some leaves are pointy, some are more round. I don't think this one is going to be as thick and ruffly as the Bloomsdale Longstanding. But I will say the Bloomsdale Longstanding is a very, very dependable seed variety to buy if you're going to go ahead and try to grow some spinach. Something I'll be adding to this spinach bed, which is not spinach, it is some cress. Now, the reason I'm adding this is because this is full of benefits for your body. All of these varieties of spinach in general, the leafy greens are full of flavonoids that are known to be cancer busters. They provide vitamin A and C, and they provide iron for your body. And we eat our spinach raw. And I will be eating this cress raw as well. And this is full of all of the same micronutrients and benefits as spinach. This just has a different flavor to it. Cress is more of a peppery flavor, more like arugula. And again, arugula and the mizuna are not really my favorite things, but in small quantities, it does add some interest to flavor and to texture to a raw salad like we eat every single day. So The thing that I love about spinach is that not only do I eat it raw and it satisfies all of my nutritional cravings because it feeds the brain. These are very, very important things. When you feed your brain proper nutrients, you don't get cravings and you don't miss things. We don't miss meat. We get all of our nutrition from leafy greens and beneficial plant-based fats and everything that we need from being a vegetarian. Now, there are times, and you may relate if you are a steak eater or a meat eater, where sometimes you just get this thing in your mind where it's like, I just need a steak. A steak is what is going to satisfy me. I realized that when I started cooking my Bloomsdale long-standing spinach and sauteing it in garlic with a little bit of oil, it takes on such an intense, meaty, almost flavor to it. It almost tastes like a steak. Not really, but it's the iron in the spinach that satisfies your brain from feeling like you actually need to eat a steak. Some of these things, as a vegetarian, you just learn what it is that your body's really looking for. And it's not the actual piece of meat that your body wants. It's the iron, the vitamin C, the vitamin A, all of the vitamins that come is what your brain as a muscle needs to be fully nourished. So I want you to keep that in mind. Not trying to talk anybody into becoming a vegetarian. I know it's a very, very sensitive subject. But I will encourage you at any point if you say, hey, Leigh, we want to learn how to be a vegetarian. I'll be more than happy to go into all of that with you. For us, spinach has been the most critical part of being a healthy vegetarian and not needing a tremendous amount of variety. We don't need a tremendous amount of supplements to take in addition to our daily meals because we have spinach every single day. So I am determined that this year I am going to find the absolute best spinach that will grow in our New Jersey yard here. And I'm about to head outside now and get some of this planted. So if you're growing spinach, I hope that going over these varieties may have helped you. Now is the time. Again, it likes 40 degrees to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It doesn't like too much light. So if you can plant this in an area that is part shade, that's going to be the best way for you to plant it. And you don't need a big deep bed for this. You can plant this in a shallow raised bed and it will do just fine, and you should be harvesting spinach at least through May. So I will let you know once we get germination and we start to harvest, and hopefully I'll enjoy this and we'll check out this new variety of cress as well. So thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you in the next video.